Nix, I see you there in Periscope. Thanks for joining in. Okay, it is musicradiocreative.com live. Hello, I'm Mike, and let me just do this to make my face look all nice. Aha, perfect. So, audio compression basics in this session. It's going to be absolutely fantastic. We're going to get into changing and manipulating audio so it sounds just brilliant. As you can see, by the way, you can leave a comment or a heart or whatever you do on your platform of choice. We're on YouTube, we're on Facebook, we're on Twitch, we're on Periscope, and it's going to be just so exciting. Compression is one of the first things that I learnt about when I started my audio production career, when I was working in radio, and we had to compress all the voiceovers and sometimes the music as well to make it pop, to make it sound good. Compression is about taking those loud sounds and pushing them down. It's also about taking quiet sounds and pulling them up, but mainly it's about pushing the loud sounds down. Just before I get in and mention some of your live comments, which thank you, please let me know who you are and where you're watching from in the world, whether you're watching on YouTube, whether you're watching on Facebook or wherever. Over the weekend, I've taken the comments up a level. Let me see whether I can just quickly show you now. If I take the background video off and give you a little insight into my comments box here, which is fantastic. As you can see up there, I've got Twitch over here, I've got YouTube there, and Facebook now on a nice refreshing panel there, so I can really see everything. Plus I can also see Periscope on my other screen, and yes, I can see those wonderful hearts, so thank you very much for bringing them in and sharing the love. So in compression, we're using it to basically make audio more audible to the ear, so people can hear what is being said or what is being done. Now, compression is a big thing in hit music radio and pop radio. It's done on modern pop songs to make them sound louder, to make them sound bigger. Why? Because, well, if you're listening on the best stereo or audio system in the world at home, you might be able to hear every little nuance in the music. But most people, well, particularly listening to the radio, would be listening in their car. They'd be listening while they're on the move, jogging, walking the dog, doing the dishes. So if you had so much dynamic range in the audio, you just really, sometimes you'd hear things and sometimes you wouldn't. How can I best explain it? What about when you're watching the TV, right? TV notoriously doesn't have much compression on it, and you're watching a movie, for instance. Has this ever happened to you? Let me know in the comments if it has. You're watching a movie, and it's really quiet. You can hardly hear the dialogue, so you need to really turn the volume up. You turn it up really loud, and you're watching something like War of the Worlds with Tom Cruise in, and you can just hear what Tom is saying, and then suddenly, boom! like your speakers blow up and your whole living room vibrates, and the neighbours wonder what on earth you're doing, what the hell you're doing next door, and that's because the dynamic range is large. There's a big peak where the explosion happens, and then there's just tiny little waveforms where the talking is happening, and you need to turn it up, and then suddenly it goes round like that. So, yeah, compression happens on all kinds of things. Compression happens on YouTube streams, on Facebook streams. They add a bit of compression. So that's a little heads up on what it is and why we're doing it. We're going to go into the basics. We'll go into some theory, why things do what they do, how to set up a compressor, because everybody asks me that all the time. Mike, how do you set up a compressor? How do I make my voice sound better? And I'm like, well, it's different for everyone. So I'm going to kind of show you in this session how you can do that. If you're listening, by the way, on the podcast, mrc.fm/podcast is where you can get that. Hello to you, my audio listener. It's lovely to have you here. And as this will be very visual, do go back and watch the replay. But as I know I've got you hopefully for the next hour or so, I will do my best to describe what is happening on my screen and what things mean, so you can follow along with me in the car or wherever you are. And this podcast does have audio compression, by the way. Right, let's get into some of those comments because they're coming in thick and fast. We got Matt Pod over on Facebook. Mike, I need help. Well, maybe I'm your man. I don't know. Let me know what your question is. Who else have we got in order? We got Benedict Fodor. Hello. Martina's watching as well. We got Lufty. Hello, I'm from Indonesia. We got Peter. Hi, Mike, over on YouTube. Afternoon from sunny Wales, says Daft Cat Brewing. We got Daniel Neiman from Sweden. Alex Perky just joined in on Periscope. We got Radio Scream. We got Michael Duffy. Morning to you. We have got Scott's. Good morning. Thanks for all you do. It's my pleasure. I always love being here. Ronnie, thanks for doing this. Great job. David Silk, greetings from Adelaide, South Australia. This show is global. I just love doing this. We've got Martin Peters, greetings from Reading, where it is just after 2, the same as here on the Isle of Wight. Rob Charles is in Chorley. Hey to you, Rob. Also, Matt, if you're compressing and processing the audio on Audition, what do you do when it gets compressed twice? Because the on-air, you're on the radio and our on-air processor makes the process ident sound weird. Very good question. We'll get into double compressing. Isabella Russell is adminning the chat over on YouTube. She's got a spanner next to her name, or she glows. If you see here on the screen, she glows to show she's kind of moderating. Thank you for the hearts, by the way, on Periscope. Lever, thank you for saying I look good. Thank you. The beard is growing. We've got oh wow, I don't know how to pronounce that. Oluwadolamipo. Hello to you. That's a very long name. I hope I got that right. Hassan from Norway is watching. Mark is watching from Portsmouth in the UK. We've got Wolfric Productions. Ronnie, who's in Manchester, Georgia, I think, in the USA. I know Manchester by the sea, but only because of the movie. Mathieu is from Lyon in France. Bonjour. We have, who else do we have here? Oh, my, DJ Ionaut from Germany. We got someone in Denver shouting out. Nigeria. Wow. Benedict is in there. Carol is in from Poland. Mr. St. Cloud just joined in on Periscope. Gaz from Sydney, Australia. We have got Lucian from Romania as well. David Lewis is watching as well. He's got a question in Berkshire. My goodness, it's tough to keep up with this. I will get to the content, by the way, very soon. Loving the tutorials. Wondered if there's a way of loading an MP3 file into Audition to get the sum of the playtime. Yeah, I'll show you how. Michael Duffy has done a super chat. Woo! Yes, thank you, Michael Duffy. Right about there. And there's my heart. There's my heart for you, Michael Duffy, today. Thank you for the super chat and supporting the show. It's a great way to support the show. Dex Wayne from St. Vincent. We got someone in Japan. Sorry, I can't pronounce your name because they're symbols to me. Jay from the Philippines. Bonjour. Alvaro from Spain. Right, keep chatting away. I'll get back to the comments again at 1:15, okay? Every 15 minutes I mention the comments. Really, really appreciate the comments. And thank you, Rob, for the kind comments over on Facebook. I'm going to get straight into it right now and show you exactly what I'm going to do. Actually, just before I do, I wanted to show you a little tool because we're all broadcasters here. I have an Amazon, one of these Amazon Fire thingies, you know, I think it was £35 when I bought it on amazon.co.uk. And this is my dashboard to control the stream. So if I do this, if I push this button, screen share, it should, yes, and it does, it works. It shares my screen. So this is Adobe Audition right here, and I can do all kinds of cool things, like I can zoom into Adobe Audition, I can do my lower third. Hang on, I didn't do my lower third. That's important. There you go. So it's really cool, and yes, I'm really pleased that I'm taking the live streaming up a level or two. So Paul Law's asking what Super Chat is. It's something on youtube.com/musicradiocreative. That's where you need to go. youtube.com/musicradiocreative. Super Chat is basically doing a paid chat and donating to the show, and I always shout those chats out as fast as they come in. Right. Push the screen share button. There we go. Put that back. I thought I'd show that to you because I think it's a great thing for streamers when you're streaming away, having a little dashboard with all the presets on. Right, so audio compression. I am going to start a new audio file, and I'm going to create something very simple because I want to show you, before we get into advanced stuff like compressing voice and music, I want to show you exactly what compression does, exactly what it does, visually as I can. And for those of you listening on the replay, I'll try and describe it. So, effects, generate tones. Now, what I'm going to do is generate a tone that looks like that, okay? It's coming up at, you can see here, actually, hang on, let me push the zoom button and you can see this a little bit closer. So it's coming in at -5 dB, okay? Click OK to that and it generates my tone. Now I have a tone that is should be on the waveform view. There we go. Okay, that is just a single tone. It sounds like that. Can you all hear that? Yeah, good. Okay. By the way, coming up, I've got a premium plugin that's good for compression inside Adobe Audition CC. I'm going to mention it later on. Right, to show you what compression does, I am going to run a little effect on here. I'm going to go to Effects, and then I'm going to go to Amplitude and Compression, and I'm going to make it look like nice diamonds. I'm going to, it's so beautiful and gorgeous and wonderful little diamonds over there and over there. Okay, so we go into Fade Envelope, and we do the zigzag preset. See that zigzag like that? That is going to basically fade that in and out and out and in and out like that. Let me apply it and I'll show you what I mean. Okay, now, I've got diamonds on the screen. Look at that. And if I play it back, you'll hear what it does. I'm just basically decreasing by a straight line and increasing the volume. So I'm going down, up, down, up. Have a listen. Kind of sounds like a radar or a sonar, doesn't it, almost? So, yeah, now, why am I doing this? Well, to really show you what compression does. So what compression does is it will take any audio that goes above a certain threshold, and that is the first keyword we need to learn. And by the way, I'm showing you this in Adobe Audition CC, but once you know these terms and know how they work, it means you can work in any DAW, in any audio editor, and set a compressor correctly. I'll even show you in Logic later on some of their compressors if I have time to do that. It will take any audio above a certain threshold and compress it. Crush it, yeah? You know, compression, to compress something, right? We are looking at this audio here, and like I say, if I go into Window, Amplitude Statistics, and run that, you will see it's at -5 dB, okay? That's the peak amplitude of this audio file, but it does go all the way down to 0, to infinity dB, basically. So, now, if I go into the sort of, I would call it the vanilla compressor inside Adobe Audition, although that doesn't do it justice because it's an awesome compressor. Go to Dynamics Processing here. This is what I would use, and I'll go to Default. I'm going to just drag this so you can see it. And what I will do is I will, first of all, let's zoom in and have a look at this. Right, so when it's set up normally, the Dynamics Processor, you can see here that there is a kind of a little point here that you can move around. So let me set up a compressor as I normally would and show you what happens. Now, bearing in mind, anything above -5 dB is going to be compressed if I change this. So let's put on the preview window so you can really see. So now you're looking at the top here, the waveform at the top. This is the original waveform, and this is the waveform I'm going to be compressing. So let me just move this and show you what happens. So if I just move this up like here, so I'm going to compress anything that is above -30 dB. Aha, we get some change in the shape there. At the moment, I'm not applying much of a ratio, so that my threshold is -30 dB. And then if I start moving this, I'll change my ratio. So if I change my ratio to 2:1, it is compressing anything that goes above the -30 dB twice, so it's cutting it in half. If I was to put a ratio of 4:1, then it would basically quarter anything above the minus 30 dB. And as you can see here in the preview, it has done that. So this is a half compression at 2:1, halving things down. And then you're quartering things down when you get to 4:1, like that, as you can see. And you can see the difference in compressor settings. That has gone rather sausage-like, and the lighter I set the ratio, the less the compressor works, as you can see. Some people like to go really harsh. I wouldn't advise going anywhere really above 5:1 for normal purposes. As you can see, that's very compressed. It has literally taken that audio that has peaked above minus 30 and pushed it right down. And if I go right the way down to a silly ratio of 48:1, you'll see it goes almost flat line. It's like flat lining the audio, and it's also increasing the amplitude, as you can see here on the quieter bits. So when we play back the preview, and the sound was previously like this. So it's made the loud bits quieter and the quiet bits louder. That is what a compressor does, to give you the basics of it. I'll show you a few more settings that are important to know, but I hope that the first thing you learn in this tutorial is that threshold is important. The lower you set that in dB, or higher in a way, because we're going into minuses. So if it's minus 20 dB, then anything that goes through minus 20 will be compressed. So anything above minus 20 dB will start to be compressed. But if you go to minus 30, that's much harsher, and I mean you can go crazy with this. You can go absolutely nuts. So if I was to make this a compressor at minus 80 dB, that's virtually all audio is going through that now. And as you'll see, if I start to drag the ratio of this up a little bit, you should see. Sorry, no, I need to go the. What I mean is I need to go the other way. Let's try going the other way over here. So minus 10, and then set a ratio here. Hang on, because we're going the wrong way now. Let's move that up and have a look at... why is my preview window not working? Something funky is happening with the preview window. Let's close and go back in. Dynamics processing. Right, yeah, there we go. So as I was trying to show you, if you go to minus 80 dB and then set the ratio really high on this, you're going to see it's pretty much taken all the audio and compressed it to nothing. And if I turn the makeup gain up now, quite a fair amount, you'll see what a ridiculous effect that has on the audio. So sorry, yeah, that was right before. It's just the fact that the preview window stopped demonstrating what was happening. Let's get over to those comments and mention some of those before I move out of this and show you how compression would work on something like a voiceover. So who have we got here? We've got, do mention who you are and where you're watching from in the chat. I can see all of your lovely chats. We got M. Saleh from London. Great to hear about audio compressors. Rap Genius is in there. Liva Solohansia from East Africa, Madagascar. We have got in there. Let me switch off my notifications, by the way. There we go. We've got James from Uganda, Gabriel from East Africa, Tanzania. We've got Richard Sugar from Las Vegas as well. Really nice to have you all watching right now. Fantastic. I do get to the questions every 15 minutes, by the way, if you've got anything to ask on this session. ePrimify saying, good to see Isabella in the chat. She's looking after things. Walter from the Netherlands. Can you show us how to set up that Amazon Fire to do that? Maybe one time on my channel, I will definitely do a tutorial. Jeffrey Stripe is watching from Cincinnati right now as well. Who else have we got here? Can you make a basic mastering for DJ sets? Yes, I can show you how to do that when you've got multiple music in the mix. And Cato Bell is there as well, just coming from his local AA meeting. Is that Adobe Audition meeting? And Manos is in Greece as well. Nice to see you. Henry as well. Thank you very much. Right. Let's record a voiceover and show you how I would basically compress a voiceover. So if I was to record something like this. This is me speaking normally, and then I get rather loud, and then I talk rather quietly. Okay. So as you can see, this is the movie effect I was talking about earlier, is having that compression to level things out, because if you don't do that, your end user can be rather upset that audio is going all over the place. So let's go into Effects, Amplitude and Compression, Dynamics Processing, and we'll have a look at what we can do with this. So go to the default view and put this on Preview. So now if I set up this compressor as I normally would, with a threshold of -20, that's a good place to start. Yeah, we'll keep that around minus 20, and we'll take the ratio down to, first of all, 2:1. So as you can see, any audio that was above -20 dB has been compressed. It's basically been cut down by half. If I then move this ratio down to, say, 4:1, a more harsh compression, you'll see it's compressing it even further. Now, if I set this to be, say, let's say at -30, a -30 dB compressor, again, still at 4:1 ratio, you'll see it starts to work even harder. And the further we go, -40, and it's really starting to even out. Can you see how it's doing that? So down here, and actually if I go on to mirrored, you'll see it exactly. We can see where we started. So the loud peak has got a lot quieter, and the quiet talking has got a lot louder. Let's listen now. This is me speaking normally, and then I get rather loud, and then I talk rather quietly. So you should be able to hear everything normally, whereas this is it without compression. This is me speaking normally, and then I get rather loud, and then I talk rather quietly. So I'm sure you can hear the difference between the audio when it's compressed and when it's not. Notice we've got this little spike here, which doesn't look too good, does it? It's to do with attack and release times. So let's change our attack and release times and see whether we can eliminate that spike. You do that from going from dynamics, into settings. Let me see if I can give you a nice zoom so you can see exactly what's happening with my compressor and with that spike. So let's try and zoom in on that spike a little bit and put it over there. And then I'm going to put the dynamics processing into full view so we can have a look. Right, so the spike I'm talking about is down there in the preview window. And then I go into my settings and I look at the attack and release. So if I increase attack, watch the spike, it gets really loud. So that means the compressor is not kicking in for a good 288 milliseconds, quarter of a second, which is not good. So we want the attack to be as fast as possible. Let's see what happens if I change the release time right down and change the release time up a little bit. And as you can see, it's changing ever so slightly how the audio is affected. But unfortunately, we're not having much luck so far with that spike. So let's try a few of these other settings. Again, attack time, increasing things, decreasing. Now we're decreasing the attack time. You're starting to see that spike. And now can you see it's completely disappeared? When you do it on the gain processor, this is the one you want to be looking at. When you see those horrible peaky spikes in a compressor, the gain processor in Adobe Audition will help you to eliminate that. So I think we were somewhere around there. And yep, you could see that spike, that prominent spike. Even though the audio is well compressed, we're getting spikes. And this is because the compressor is just not working fast enough. So keep moving it down until you see that spike start to flatten out. You want to take it just down so that you're not going too nuts, because otherwise it will sound quite punchy. So around 7 milliseconds, yep. And now we're starting to really dramatically reduce that spike. There we go. Now it seems pretty much in line with the rest. Again, you can move the release time down a little bit if you want to make the compressor work harder, or move it up if you want, like that. It's up to you. But now, moving it down a little bit kind of flattens things out a little bit better. Now let's have a listen to this audio in context. Now we have eliminated that spike. So if I play all of this audio, let's zoom out and see how it's all affected. Looks good. This is me speaking normally, and then I get rather loud, and then I talk rather quietly. So that's rather nice. As you can hear, my iMac fan is going rather loud at the moment as well. So we've got rather a lot of compression. And on one tutorial, I'm actually going to show you how you would eliminate something like that in the background with some fantastic noise reduction. But for the moment, we'll focus on compression. So now I've nicely compressed that voice. Actually, one thing I could do is I could apply a noise gate to that. So let's go into spectral frequency, and we can see all the noisy audio in the background of my speaking. Now it's compressed. We have a great place to work from because all of the audio is going to be at the same volume, so the noise gate should work really, really nicely. Let's go to favorites, normalize this up, make it really loud. And as you can see, it's normalized really well. If we still had that peak really loud here at the start of this word, it wouldn't normalize so well. It would just normalize that peak. So now we can go in to dynamics processing again. By the way, I'm going to get onto multiband compressing and also a nice premium plugin you can purchase that's rather fun for compression as well. Let's use the noise gate at -20 dB. And as you can see, it works rather well because all of this black space here now is noise being eliminated, whereas it was there before. So let's try something like that. So without the noise gate on, you might be able to hear the... and also the background noise as well, because I've got the studio door open today, so there are like planes going ahead and everything. Let's put that noise gate on. This is me speaking normally, and then I get rather loud, and then I talk rather quietly. So that noise gate is working quite well, and generally there you're doing some nice compression to make your audio sound a lot better. Let me show you some more bits. So we went over a bit about compressing the voice, but I want to show you exactly here on these diamond-shaped waves how the attack and release is working in a compressor, because I don't think I've explained that well enough yet. So let's set that back to default. And we'll set the kind of compressor I had on my voice there, which was going at a threshold of -30 dB, and I think I set the ratio at 4:1, so some nice, good punchy compression there. And as you can see, it's taken any audio that's been above -30 dB, anything which is -30 dB is somewhere down there, so it's working really hard and compressing it right down. Now I will go into the settings and show you attack and release times. So if I pull attack right up like this, you will see that suddenly, let's move it right up here, and you will suddenly see that it's, hang on, let me actually change the ratio up a bit so you can see this work a little bit better. Right, okay, yeah. And do we want to add a little bit less compression there maybe? Yeah, okay. So attack time up, attack time down. So let's place that like that. Let's place those down at 0 for the second and do it on the gain processor. So attack time up and attack time down. So as you can see, it's telling the compressor how quickly it should work. So at 0 milliseconds, it is working really fast and compressing audio. But if we move it out to half a second, you will see for exactly half a second, which is around there, that's about half a second, it is not doing anything, and then it's kicking in. So the better you set the attack time, the faster the compressor kicks in. But on drum beats, you might not want that because it might make your drums sound a little bit poppy, a little bit too awful, really. So, and I can show you that. And release time is how long you want the compressor to work for before it evens out again. So giving it 2 seconds will allow it to keep compressing before it goes back to its normal function. If I move it right down again, you'll see it is still compressing. So that's roughly how attack and release work, but I can show you much better if we get a drum loop. Let me get Logic Pro open. And in just a moment, I will mention your comments, by the way. If you're watching, I can see some nice hearts. Weaver is there on the wonderful Periscope. Let's create a drum loop and bring it into Adobe Audition. Then I can show you how compression would work on a drum loop. So here we go. Let's get something nice like Anthem, and we'll take all of that drum loop right now and export it. So export selection as audio file, and we'll pop that down in here. That's just going out now, and then I'm going to bring that into Adobe Audition. Right, okay, here we go, got it. So let's go over here and bring this into my copy of Adobe. Here we go, and let's have a listen to this drum beat. And let's normalize that and start adding some compression. So that's quite loud now. If I go into Effects, Amplitude, Dynamics Processing here, and we'll go to the default here. So as you can see, there are some different instruments in between the drum beats, And if I start to add a little bit of compression like so, that's made it rather loud. Let's take the output gain, makeup gain up or down. I don't think you can do minus numbers actually in makeup gain. No, you can't, because it's for increasing. That's okay. We can actually turn it down here. Input gain down and output gain down as well. There we go. That should decrease it. Now, as you can see here, because we have the attack set very quick, you'll see the drums are very spiky there. Let's move our attacks up on the level detector, and they become less spiky and more fluid because the compressor isn't kicking in for the first 194 milliseconds of the drum beat, so you're getting a natural drum beat. So if I have attack set really harshly, you hear that kind of pumping sound on the drum, whereas if I move the attack time out a bit, now you can hear the clear beat of the drum, the clear click of each drum beat. So the more you have attack set, particularly on music tracks, the less natural I would say it is going to sound. Coming up in just a moment, I'm going to show you the premium plugin that I really like for doing compression. Like I say, once you learn attack, release, threshold, and ratio, you start to really understand things, and you'll understand how this plugin works. I'll also show you how to compress things like a voiceover session or a radio show or something like that. If you've got loads of different music tracks and jingles all at different volumes, I'll show you how you can level things out and make them sound nice. Also, the frequency range, the band limiting is like a kind of low version of multiband compression, because essentially you're cutting off bass. So if I cut off bass, you should hear a lot of the bass disappear, or the high. You can cut off the highs and only compress a certain range of the audio. So say you didn't want to compress any of the drum, so anything below about 1000 hertz or even lower, below 400 hertz. Now it's not going to be compressing the drums so much, even though I've got the attack time set really spiky. Now, if you can hear that on the live stream, there is a lot of bass beats there because they are not being compressed. On the alternative way, we could say that we only really want to compress the drum beats. And if we take it, those drum beats are really being compressed because now we've cut off all the highs, so any of the cymbals and trebly stuff is not being compressed. Right, it's halfway through the show. It's 2:30 in the UK, and it's definitely time, I think, to feature a few more of your chats. So let's have a look before we get into the next section of this audio compression basics tutorial. And who have we got here? Well, we have got, my goodness, Jose from Puerto Rico. Nice to see you there. Manos, thank you for the kind compliment, by the way. Really appreciate that. Nella's watching from the United States. Love watching. Thank you very much for the kind compliment. Scott, good morning from Virginia in the United States. And we've got, I'm Tom Hall. Please do more imaging tutorials. Yes, there are a lot more imaging tutorials coming up. In fact, this time next week, I've got a whole tutorial, whole hour dedicated to how to make your audio sound like radio. So yes, we'll be covering radio imaging and techniques this time next week. So make sure to set yourself a reminder for that. Ibrimify is having a laugh there with Caddo in the chat. Joyce Ian, now I understand many aspects of dynamics with the way you explain that. Thank you. Well, I just enjoy showing, so glad to hear that. Michael is talking to Isabella. So yep, you're going back and forth about a support ticket on MRC, which is great. Hello from Vietnam to Trung as well. Mega Radio UK, can you please tell me how I can copy a selection from a small menu in the multitrack, please? Can you tell me where I'm supposed to live in the multitrack to get the little menu here? If you could go into more detail on that. Do you mean copying effects from the effects menu into a new track? Let me know, and I can maybe cover that in a couple of minutes on this stream. We got Richard Sugar, reference track tutorial one day, please. Yeah, absolutely. Good suggestion. David Silk David Silk is giving the answer there very nicely in the chat. So thank you for that, David. Mark, how much compression is too much? We worked at Time 106.6, which had an excellent punchy compressed sound. Would you recommend that much? And is that from attack and release primarily? Good question. Very good question, Mark. Let's hop back into the screen share and I can show you. This would be a good point before I get onto the plugin that I'm going to mention. This would be a good point to show you the multiband compressor, because that is exactly what you would generally have at a broadcast radio station. Let me see if I can find some nice music in our production library. So we'll go to library and we'll go to music beds. And we'll look for something like, I quite like a bit of progressive house from time to time. Let's see what we can find here. Actually, do you know what? I'm not going to use EDM or dance music because it's already very compressed. Let's try and find something with more of dynamic range. Where are we going to find that? Folk music? That's very compressed. Trying to find a track that isn't that compressed. As you can see, that's very compressed. Let's have a look. I'm sure we're going to find something that is going to be a little more dynamic. That shows promise. Ah, yes, a nice... a track in our library with dynamic range. Always good to see that. Right, so how is it working? By the way, there's some funky things going on with my preview window. I could see some of the audio wasn't there. Not sure what's going on with preview in Adobe Audition today. That's the beauty of doing things live. If we go into effects, and this time I'm going to show you Amplitude and Compression Multiband Compressor. So, yeah, absolutely. Attack and release, to answer your question, Mark, does have a big sort of effect on the kind of pumpiness of the sound of a radio station. But let me show you, there is actually a preset here in the Dynamics processor here. Sorry, not Dynamics, the Multiband Compressor. And it's actually called Broadcast. So let's have a listen to the audio. Let's see. Can you see what it does right now? It really sort of really compresses the audio, and as you can see, this was a dynamic peak, totally disappeared in here. This was a quiet spot, totally disappeared here. It's really working very hard. And if I play this back with the compression on, and I'll switch it off as well, have a listen. So as you can hear, that's really, it's lifting all the music and it's making it so that you can hear every single bit. But as you'll notice here, it is not really doing that much to the start of this track because not much of this track goes above the threshold set here until you get to about this point in the track where the compressor will kick in. Let's have a listen to this point in the track and watch the red marks start to appear here, as you can see. So you can see it's peaking the thresholds here and here, so the -17 and -24 dB threshold on these frequencies. And as you can see here, you can set the crossover for your frequencies. So what frequency range do you want the compressor to be working on? Now, let's just for a second take the threshold right down on these and watch what happens. That's suddenly not compressing anything at all apart from the bass. And if we set the bass up, let's set it to compress the bass. Hang on. We want to do something like that. Hang on. We want to do it the other way around. So we're compressing only the bass, but nothing else. Okay. Now, as you can see, it's compressing bass. Not a lot of bass in this track, but if I was to compress some mid-ranges and take the bass off, listen to how it affects things now in the mix. So now I'm compressing the mid-range. I should be able to talk over this audio really easily because it's really pushing down the dynamics on all of that mid-range. And you can hear we're left with just treble and bass. So the boom of the drums and the crash of the cymbals are still there. Now right there, did you hear that bass rumble there? I bet you if you start adding some bass compressor, you will start to hear that slowly start to get compressed. And watch the waveform in the preview as it starts to get compressed. Yeah. And you can see it's really pushing things down now. And as you can see, the bass is responsible for a lot of the peaks in dynamics to this track. When I take the bass compression off, we're getting a lot of peaks here where the bass is. There's some bass, there's some bass, there's some bass, there's some bass, there's a lot of bass. And when we start to compress the bass, you'll notice all of those peaks disappear. So bringing it down, and this is set at 3:1, a ratio of 3:1. So if I bring this down even further, you'll see now the bass is being controlled a little bit. I think the bass is a little bit out of control in this track. But now we're compressing the mids too much, so let's bring them back to a reasonable level and have a listen. Maybe need to pull it down a bit more. Now, because we're not compressing any treble, you can really hear, particularly where this cymbal crash comes in. That kind of cymbal-y sound, if I bring that right down, you should hear that get really compressed. And it almost disappears that it's been so compressed. So with a lot of compression on the high frequencies, take them off. Hopefully you can hear the difference, particularly if you're listening on headphones. So again, we don't want to set that too harsh, but there's a lot you can do with a multi-band compressor to affect the sound. Again, if you want to make your audio sound like you're on the radio, Broadcast and Pop Master are good presets. The same with voiceovers. If I take this voiceover and add some multi-band compression, let me undo all my compression and play this back. Let me give you a nice close-up view of this audio. And I'm going to play that back right now. This is me speaking normally, and then I get rather loud, and then I talk rather quietly. Okay, and then I'll bring in the multiband compressor again. Here it is, and we'll go to default, so you shouldn't hear any compression at the moment. But when I add something like broadcast, you'll see this is the kind of radio station style effect. And as you can see, it's doing quite a lot of work there, although it hasn't brought up the quiet audio here as much as I'd like to see it. So one of my favorite multiband compressor presets is the Pop Master. And let's have a look at what that does. So Pop Master again is working quite hard. Let's play it back and start to play with some of these dials and see what we can do. This is me speaking normally. So as you can see, again, a lot of mids in my voice being compressed. If I was to bring the bass down a little bit, this is me speaking normally, and then I get rather loud, and then I talk rather quietly. So I'm losing a lot of bass there, but I can also do a similar thing on the treble. I can remove all of the treble. This is me speaking normally, and then I get rather loud. So multi-band compression is what gives a radio station its nice sound. You can really change the sound of audio. Let me go back and show you now some new audio. Let me actually bring in a dance track because it might be good to demonstrate dynamics processing on like an EDM track or something like that. So let me find this one. Okay. No, that's a bit much. Let's go for something like this. Turn that down a little bit. It's rather loud in my ears. There we go. Okay, and we'll go into Effects, Amplitude and Compression, Multiband Compressor, and we'll have a play with this. So as you can probably hear, the dynamics or multiband compressor is really having an effect on that song. Let's move some dials around as we add the compression. So we'll first of all compress bass, then we'll compress the mid-range, then we'll compress the high frequencies and see how it affects things. So as you can hear, a lot of the music changes, particularly when you focus on the mid frequencies. If you wanted to focus on, say, one frequency like the bass, you can actually solo these channels like this. Now you can hear just the bass in the background. Hopefully that's coming across well on the live stream with the audio transcoding there. So if I compress it harshly, you won't hear anything. And that's the bass as it originally sounds. We can sweep up with this or with the numbers here. So if I was to move this up, you hear a lot more audio there. So we can choose which frequencies we're adding compressor to. So multiband basically means that we are having granular control on every single band of frequencies. So we can choose bass, we can choose mid, we can choose trebles. Let me show you a little more harsh compression on the bass. So we got to about here. And then we might want to go over to this band and have a listen to how this sounds. And then we'll go over here and set it up on solo on this frequency band. Now, usually between around 4,000 hertz and, say, around 8,000 hertz, we get a lot of sibilant sounds. This is particularly important in voices. So let me show you, actually, if I go into the screen share and record a voice. By the way, I'm going to get back to your live comments in about 2 minutes, so do keep them coming in at youtube.com/musicradiocreative, also at facebook.com/musicradiocreative. Sibilance is a really annoying sound. I really don't like sibilance. And then I'm going to sibilant. Obviously not a lot of sibilance on my mic, but we can soon change that by going into the EQ. And we'll go to parametric and add a lot of high end to really bring out that sibilant sound. Sibilance is a really... That's perfect. Now I will show you how some multi-band compression would work on this audio. If I was to go into the preview window, you'll see before up here and after down here. And I'm going to go into effects and multi-band compressor, and we'll have a play. Let's put it back to default, and I'm going to solo and try and find my sibilant sound. Sibilance is a really annoying sound. I really don't like sibilance. Sibilance is a really annoying... Sibilance is a really annoying sound. I really don't like sibilance. Okay, so we can see here, I'm setting up this green channel here to be exactly around the sound of my sibilance. Sibilance is a really annoying... And now we can begin to compress just the sibilance. Sibilant. So hear how that sounds without it, and then with it, as I start to bring it in. Sibilance is a really annoying sound. I really don't like sibilance. So multiband compressors are brilliant because you can isolate frequencies that you want to compress or crush down. Sibilance is a really annoying sound. I really don't like sibilance. And we can take the ratio up as well. Oh, that's a bit high. Maybe 5:1. Sibilance is a really annoying sound. I really don't like sibilance. And then switch it off again. Sibilance is so bright. Sibilance and crispy, or sibilance. Maybe that's a little bit too harsh. Sibilance is... So we really start to affect the voice just by doing that, and then we can solo other parts of the voice. Sibilance is a really annoying... And we can compress those frequencies too. I might just increase the bass a little bit to below 200 hertz. Sibilance is a really annoying... And then we'll go to the high frequencies. Sibilance is really annoying. And then let's listen to the whole thing in context. Sibilance is a really annoying sound. I really don't like sibilance. So a nicely compressed bit of audio there. Switch it off. Sibilance is a really annoying sound. The original, and then sibilance is a really annoying sound. I really don't like sibilance. So there you go, just playing with the multiband compressor on music and voice. You can hear the difference there. Let's mention a few more of your comments, and then we'll get into the final part where I'll look at this premium compression plugin. I might hop over into Logic as well and show you a compressor over there. And yeah, we've got just a few more things, maybe compressing like a radio show with lots of idents in and getting everything to sound nice and perfect. So we got Razkumar saying HLW. So thank you for posting that. Steely Dan says Caddo. Devon is in the house. Good to see you there. Etri says dope. Wolfric Productions. Dude, I love the one Pac-Man sounding one. What were you referring to there? I must have missed that. In your effects chain, compression before EQ, Caddo is asking. Yes, absolutely. That's right. Let me show you that in the multitrack here. When I start a new multitrack session, I've got template MRC. And by the way, you can go and grab the presets at mrc.fm/presets. They are over there, mrc.fm/presets, available to buy online. My Adobe Audition CC session file, the exact presets I use to process voice and music at Music Radio Creative every day, and 12 video tutorials. You get a template that looks like this with voice processing tracks, 5 of them, 2 music processing tracks, 2 sound effect tracks, and a voice effects bus for adding even more effects on. And actually, I'll do some shout outs. Some really nice emails came in just over the weekend, including Philip saying, thank you so much for the Adobe Audition template that Mike uses. I made sure to get mine over the weekend. Great tutorials, brilliant. And it's absolutely encouraged me to upgrade my aging Adobe Audition version 3.0, yes, circa 2001, to the spangly new Adobe Creative Cloud 2017 edition. So, Philip, really glad to hear that. Thank you for emailing in about that. Wonderful news, and you'll be able to use those presets to their full advantage. Another one came in. I downloaded Adobe Audition, the 7-day free trial, and tried a few things. I'm ready to start using it again. Mike's tutorials have really helped me to grow my stuff, and really love the preset package as well. And a final one here from Charles. I've got an upcoming internet radio station, and the Adobe Audition presets have really helped me to make the sound good. So that's great to hear. So yeah, absolutely. When you look at my chain in these presets that I've got, I do actually have the last thing in my chain here, a parametric equalizer on all the voice channels. And that is simply because I'm doing a little bit of gloss on the voice. So if I was to let's just punch in a quick voice over here. Hello there, this is my voice. And I'm using this. Hello there, this is my voice. So that's going through one of my presets, as you can hear. If I have this on, hello there, that's with the preset on. Hello there, and hello. Let me try and switch that, or switch over here and listen to it without. Hello there. So without the preset, hello there, with the preset. And if I pull this up higher, hello there, you'll hear how the trebles are increased, or the mid-ranges. Hello there. Or the bass even, if I wanted to increase bass. Hello there. Take off treble, take off mid-range. Hello there. But it's all okay, and the reason that I do have a parametric EQ after compressors in this particular example is because when you get to the voice effects bus, there is actually a final multi-band compressor hidden away there. So actually the final thing that it does hit is a compressor. The last thing that all the voices will hit is a compressor in the chain. But yes, it's a very good question as to why it appears like there's an EQ last in the chain rather than compressor. Hello there, this is my voice. And as you can see, the multi-band compressor, which I've just been demonstrating, working rather well there on the voice effects bus, processing anything that comes into it. So if I drop it down here and we have a look at the multi-band compressor again, it'll be working. Hello there, this is my voice. And chorus as well. Hello there, this is my voice. Echo. Hello there, this is my voice. So as you can see, the compressor is kicking in and doing the job at the final stage there, Caddo. David Lewis, if you get a second, can you show me about finding the sum of the playtime of numerous MP3 files? Trying to check before loading in. Yeah, there is a way you could do that. The best way is just to drag them all into your files menu. So if you've got a load of MP3s, just drag them in here and you can see Oh, but I see exactly what you want to do. You want to find out the sum of a ton of MP3 files that you're dragging in. Right, okay, I'm with you. So a way I might do that to start with is, let's see if I can actually reveal in Finder. Right. So I've got all these tracks. Say these are all music tracks that I'm interested in using, and I want to know how long they all last. Just going to drag that off screen. If I drag them into my Audition, the way I've got it set up, let me just get rid of this voice. So if I was to drag 3 of these tracks in, like so, you'll see they all appear on different tracks in the multi-track and load in, which is not ideal because you want to know the sum of all those tracks. So what I might do, and there may be a faster way, so do feel free to call me out in the chat if you know a faster way to do this. But what I would do is go into my Adobe Audition Preferences and multi-track, and then there is a preference here somewhere that shows you how you want to drag in your multi-track clips. That's it, multi-track clips. Let me zoom in on that, and you can see what preferences I'm changing here. So multi-track clips, and you can see here when inserting multiple clips, place each file onto its own track, David. But if I click add the selected tracks to the same track, and usually when you first load Audition for the first time, it'll ask you which way you want this preference set, but this is how you change it, because I like having things on different tracks, but this will work perfectly for you. Click OK to that, and now when I go ahead and drag in my 3 tracks from the Finder, you'll see they all start to appear now next to each other. And then if you look down here, or hang on, behind my head, I need to disappear myself for a second. Behind my head, you'll see the selection view timers, and particularly down here, you'll see the duration is 7 minutes and 38 seconds. That's the total sum time of those 3 MP3s. If you wanted to go a little bit further than that, you might want to mix those MP3s together like that, just so you get the crossfaded time, and then you'll see. And if I move this down a little bit now, and we have a look at the total sum time of that. So if we go to the end now, it's looking about 7 minutes in duration, 7 minutes and 1 second. So David, I really hope that answers your question. Let me know if that was of use to you, but that is how I would do it. And now I'm actually going to change my preferences back. So let me show you again. You just go into the Preferences window, multi-track clips, and you choose place each file onto its own track. That's just the way that I like to do it. Okay, back into the screen share mode, and we've got Mega Radio UK. I'd like to try and get a night down to my audio with my phone propeller for the Baker start off quietly and get louder by the time of the logo. I'm unsure as to, you might need to show me a video or send me an audio example of that, Mega Radio, so I can figure that out. Paul Orr on Facebook, I've been schooled. Thanks, Mike. Say again how I can grab the tutorials and settings you mentioned. They are available at mrc.fm/presets, mrc.fm/presets. Aditya says, can we get a feature film workflow for voice to 5.1 surround? Oh, yes, surround. Definitely going to cover that in a future tutorial. Glad it helped you, David, by the way, in the comments. Perfect. Use Adobe Bridge, says Caddo. Oh, yes, use Adobe Bridge. There's Caddo's advice. Adobe Bridge is not something I have played with, but I'm pretty sure I've got it. So let's have a look. Let's load up Adobe Bridge. Getting a little bit sidetracked here. Like I say, I've never used Adobe Bridge, so it might take a while to load. Quick one, Mike. I have a blind friend doing audio too. He's trying to his best, but I'm wondering if you have any pointers for him. He loves listening to your videos and ask me questions. If you have anything specific, do let me know, and I'll be happy to help. So, my goodness, yeah, I've never used Adobe Bridge before. So, yes, maybe another time. I would love to learn a little bit more about this, but I'm guessing you can put all your audio in. Gatto, could you maybe let us know in the comments how you would use Adobe Bridge to sum multiple audio files together? How does it work? So I would love to know more about that. Let's show you mixing together tracks of different amplitude. So turn this down by, hang on, let's move it onto another track here. Music tracks. I'm going to turn this track down. So say these are all crossfaded but at different levels, like so, and then we mix down the entire session. And let's have a listen. Good times. Hey, Lewis, nice to see you there in the chat. And Devon, is it worth getting Audition for a podcast voices, or could I process the same in Logic using similar, if not the same plugins? You could absolutely do the same stuff inside Logic. Just depends what you prefer to use more. I prefer Adobe Audition. I find it's faster, easier, and you can get more granular. You can zoom in and really, I feel you can control waveforms a lot better in Adobe Audition, but that's my personal preference. Right, let's add on some compression. So these are 3 different tracks at different volumes. If we add some dynamics here, you should see the quieter audio could be, the louder audio is getting more compressed. But what we can do with this is it's probably better when you're doing compression for a radio show is to use some hard limiting, a form of compression. And let's bring the hard limiter in over here. Now, as you can see, that's set rather harsh. So let's go to default. We do want a consistent volume, but not that consistent. So let's play with this. Let's put it limit to -3 dB. That's perfect. And then you just want to boost the input up a little bit more until you start to see that hard limiting working. There we go. But obviously, that track I put in initially is rather loud. But as you can see, hard limiting does kind of flatten out your audio volumes quite nicely. You can play with the release time again to give it a more natural or synthetic sound, depending on how you want it to be. So square blocks or sort of curvy blocks at the end. So it's up to you. But yeah, hard limiting is good. And I've only got a little bit of time to show you this wonderful premium plugin that I was going to mention. It is Isotope Neutron Suite, the Neutron Compressor. I think is a really, really sweet compressor. Again, something you can play with. If you want to get the Neutron Suite, the best place to go to is mrc.fm/Neutron. And I'll pop it in the live chat there on the youtube.com/musicradiocreative, so you can check it out. But again, it's got a nice, sweet-looking threshold, gain, attacks and releases as well. And you can go multiband as well if you like. The multiband is quite nice. Kind of crossfades it, but just show you basically how this would work. If I start moving this threshold down a little bit to -20, you'll start to see this audio probably kicks in. Takes rather longer to work. There we go, but it is working. Or -40 dB. And again, you can have a play with the ratio as well. Bring the ratio up to 5:1 maybe. Do some harsh compressing on this. But yeah, Isotope Neutron is another one, and it just has a good sound as a compressor as well. Play with the attack and release times, maybe move them down. But we're about getting to the end now. So thanks, Devon, for the comment. Cato for feeding back on Adobe Bridge there on youtube.com/musicradiocreative. Go over and subscribe if you haven't done so already to youtube.com/musicradiocreative. Hi to Wallace in the mix on Facebook Live. DJ Transit as well, tuning in. Looking for more Audacity videos. Maybe coming in the future. It's been a pleasure to be with you today. Make sure to join me tomorrow with another exciting live tutorial every day, Monday to Friday, 2 p.m. UK time. We do these, and it's always a pleasure to be here.